The palace of the Xylarian Empire was a place of silver towers and shining halls. From every corner of the galaxy, leaders had visited this court, yet none looked like the guest who walked through the gates that day. His name was Captain Elias Ward, and he was a human from Earth. For the Xylarians, humans were strange. They were young in galactic years, not as advanced as other great powers, yet they had earned whispers of respect. Reports said humans could survive harsh worlds, think in strange ways, and never gave up even when the odds crushed them. The Queen herself had called Elias across the stars, curious to see if those whispers were true. Elias stepped into the throne hall with steady steps. He wore no golden cloak, no crown of jewels. His clothing was simple, the dark uniform of Earth's envoy service. His eyes scanned the great chamber calmly, though it was filled with alien nobles who looked at him with both interest and disdain. Upon the high throne sat Queen Serenia, ruler of the empire. Her crown shimmered with crystals, and her voice, when she welcomed him, was soft but strong. Beside her stood her twin daughters, Princess Kayla and Princess Lyra. They were younger, full of energy, and their eyes locked on Elias the moment he entered. The court whispered. Humans were rare to see, but this one walked as if he feared nothing. His gaze was steady, his shoulders straight. In a hall where most bowed low, Elias only inclined his head with polite respect. Captain Elias Ward of Earth, Queen Serenia spoke, her tone echoing across the chamber. You come to us seeking friendship between our peoples. Yes, Your Majesty, Elias replied. His voice was firm but not arrogant. Humanity desires peace. We wish to share knowledge and protect trade routes. We believe both our worlds can grow stronger together. The Queen studied him in silence. Her daughters, however, were less patient. Kayla, the elder twin by only minutes, stepped forward. She was bold, her eyes sharp. Human, she said. Is it true your people fight wars with such fury that even stronger races fall back? I have heard stories. Are they real? Elias gave a small smile. Humans fight when we must, Princess, but we prefer peace when it is possible. Lyra, the younger twin, laughed lightly. Peace? And yet you carry yourself as if ready for battle. Do all humans hide steel behind soft words? The nobles chuckled at her teasing, but Elias only answered calmly. We hide nothing, Princess. We are what we must be. That simple answer made both sisters exchange glances. They had met countless suitors from noble houses, all eager to impress them with gifts or flattery. Yet this human spoke plainly, without fear. In that moment, both Kayla and Lyra felt the same thought. This one is different. As the court session ended, the twins began their quiet competition. That night, Kayla invited Elias to tour the Imperial fleet docks. She wanted to show him the strength of Xylarian warships, believing a soldier like him would admire their power. She walked beside him proudly, speaking of weapon systems and battle victories. Elias listened with interest, but when she asked if he was impressed, he replied, They are powerful ships, Princess, but I notice they rely on predictable tactics. An enemy who thinks differently might find a weakness. Kayla was startled. Few dared to criticize the fleet. Yet she felt a spark of respect for his honesty. The next evening, Lyra made her move. She invited Elias to a grand banquet with scholars and diplomats. She charmed the hall with graceful words, weaving politics and art into conversation. She asked Elias clever questions, trying to draw him into her world of diplomacy. When she asked what he thought of Xylarian politics, Elias answered carefully but truthfully. It is strong, Princess, but sometimes too proud. Pride blinds even the wisest. The table grew silent at his words. Lyra expected him to stumble, to take back his bold remark. Instead, he met her gaze without fear. She too felt the same spark. Her sister had. This human was no ordinary guest. The twins soon realized they were both drawn to him, though neither would admit it. In the hallways of the palace, Kayla spoke more sharply when Lyra appeared, and Lyra teased her sister more than usual. Their rivalry, once playful, was now serious. The nobles noticed the tension, whispering that the princesses were fighting for the same prize. But Elias seemed unaware. Or perhaps he simply ignored it. He spent his days walking the gardens, speaking with scholars, and asking deep questions about the empire's history. He listened more than he spoke, and when he did speak, he chose his words with care. What none of the twins realized was that Queen Serenia was also watching. She had ruled for decades, seen countless envoys come and go. Most bowed too deeply or spoke with empty praise. But this human, he was different. He treated her court with respect, yet not fear. He spoke honestly, even when his words carried risk. The queen leaned back on her throne one evening, her eyes narrowing as she studied Elias from afar. Her daughters thought they were playing a game for the human's attention. They did not see the deeper truth. Serenia saw it clearly. This man from Earth was not dazzled by jewels or titles. He was not swayed by pride or beauty. He looked for strength of mind, not displays of power. And for the first time in many years, Queen Serenia felt a stir of curiosity that even her daughters did not expect. The game between the twins had begun, but the queen was already planning her own move. The palace of the Xylarian Empire had always been a place of quiet order. Nobles followed traditions, servants carried out duties, and the queen's word was law. But with the arrival of the human, Captain Elias Ward, something had changed. The twin princesses, Kayla and Lyra, who once worked together in harmony, now found themselves in silent conflict. Both had noticed the human's calm strength, and both wanted his attention. They had competed before in small ways, games, debates, and performances, but never had their rivalry been so sharp. At first, the court thought it harmless, two young princesses, curious about a rare visitor. But as days passed, the nobles began to whisper that the sisters were no longer simply curious. They were battling for the same man. Kayla was the first to make her intentions clearer. She visited Elias early one morning, dressed in her officer's uniform, the symbol of her training with the fleet. "Captain," she greeted him with confidence, "come with me. I wish to show you more of our defenses. You must see the strength of the empire you hope to ally with." Elias agreed politely, and soon they were aboard a swift shuttle heading to the outer docks. Kayla stood proudly as she pointed to massive warships lined in shining rows. "These ships," she declared, "are the heart of our empire. With them, no enemy can stand against us. If Earth is under our protection, no power would dare challenge you." Elias studied the warships with interest. "They are impressive," he admitted. "But I notice something familiar. Each ship looks nearly the same. The design does not vary." Kayla frowned slightly. "Uniformity is strength. The enemy cannot exploit weakness if there is none." Elias shook his head. "Or they might find one weakness and it will apply to them all. Sometimes unpredictability is the strongest defense." Kayla stared at him. His words were bold, dangerously bold, but he spoke them with such steady reason that she could not be angry. Instead, she felt something strange. Respect. That evening, Lyra made her move. She arranged a small gathering in the palace gardens under the glowing moons of their world. Musicians played soft tones and the air was filled with sweet scents of flowers. Lyra knew Elias was not dazzled by power, so she chose another path: charm and intellect. "Captain," she said warmly as they walked together, "you have seen our warships, but have you seen our libraries? Knowledge is as great a weapon as steel. Our empire has written wisdom for thousands of years. I could show you texts that shaped entire civilizations." Elias listened with interest. "I would like that," he said. Lyra smiled, pleased. She spoke of poetry, philosophy, and the long history of diplomacy her people were proud of. She asked Elias about Earth, about its art and politics. Unlike Kayla, who showed strength, Lyra tried to build connection. But when she asked him what he thought of the empire's leadership, Elias's answer surprised her. "It is strong," he said carefully, "but sometimes too proud. Pride can blind even the wisest leaders." A strong empire should also be humble enough to listen. Lyra paused. No one had ever dared speak so openly in her presence. For a moment, she did not know whether to laugh or be angry, but then she saw the seriousness in his eyes. Like her sister, she felt something she had not expected: admiration. Days turned into weeks, and the rivalry between the sisters grew. In council chambers, Kayla argued loudly about military matters, often glancing at Elias to see if he agreed. In public debates, Lyra tried to outshine her sister with clever speeches, always seeking Elias's reaction. The nobles noticed every glance, every word. Whispers filled the palace halls. The princesses are competing for the human. Kayla became more direct. She often challenged Elias in conversation, eager to prove her sharp mind. "Tell me, Captain, would Earth's fleet survive against ours? Be honest." Elias would answer calmly, never flustered. "Perhaps not in numbers, Princess, but battles are not only about ships, they are about the will of the people." Lyra, in turn, would ask questions filled with grace. "Do you not grow tired of war, Captain? Would it not be better to live in peace and beauty, as our empire offers?" And Elias would answer with the same calm tone. "Peace is always better, but..." Silence when we're... The Xylarian palace had grown restless. The rivalry between the twin princesses, Kayla and Lyra, was now the main talk of the court. Every noble seemed to watch them, curious to see which one would finally win the humans' favor. Yet Captain Elias Ward remained calm, speaking only when needed and never giving either princess the attention they wanted most. Queen Serenia observed everything from her throne. Unlike her daughters, she was patient and wise. She saw clearly what they could not. Elias was not impressed by displays of power or charm. He respected honesty, cleverness, and thought, and she realized that same human could be far more valuable than either princess had imagined. One evening, while the twins were preparing another attempt to impress Elias, the queen summoned him to a private chamber. The room was quiet and filled with soft light from crystal lamps. Walls were lined with ancient texts and records of the empire's history. Serenia herself sat in a low chair, not on a throne, making the space informal. "Captain Ward," she said softly, "I wish to speak with you alone." Elias nodded and stepped inside. He bowed slightly, as was customary, though he did not kneel. "Your Majesty," he said respectfully. "Sit," she said, waving her hand. "Do not think of me as a queen for this conversation. I wish to hear your thoughts freely." Elias hesitated only for a moment, then sat across from her. He could feel the weight of her presence, the wisdom and authority she carried. But there was no threat, no pressure, just a desire to understand. "I have watched your daughters," she began, "and I see they have taken a keen interest in you." Elias smiled faintly. "They are strong, clever, and ambitious," he said. "They remind me of humans who seek approval before understanding truth. I respect them, but I cannot be swayed by admiration or competition." Serenia's eyes narrowed slightly. "Do you mean to say they are foolish?" "Not foolish," he replied calmly. "They are learning, and they will grow stronger if they listen. But right now they fight a battle they cannot win, because the prize they think exists is not the real prize." The queen studied him carefully. Few had ever spoken to her this way. Most envoys flattered her or tried to manipulate words to gain favor. Elias spoke honestly, without fear or attempt to impress. She felt a spark of curiosity. "You have studied my empire," she said, leaning forward. "Tell me what you think of its strength and its weaknesses." Elias paused. He chose his words with care. "Your empire is vast and proud. Its fleets are unmatched and your culture is refined. But there is one weakness: pride. Pride can blind even the wisest leaders. Some decisions are made for honor, rather than logic, and this may threaten your future if left unchecked." Serenia did not react at first. His words were sharp, yet not disrespectful. Most rulers would have grown angry. But she was not most rulers. She was a queen who valued truth more than comfort. "And you, Captain, she said softly. Would you advise a queen who listens to truth instead of flattery? Elias met her gaze steadily. I would, Your Majesty. I believe wisdom comes from honesty. A leader who listens carefully is stronger than one who commands fear. The queen leaned back, a small smile forming. She had never met a human who spoke, so openly, so wisely. He was not dazzled by the silver and crystal of her palace, nor by the rivalry of her daughters. He saw clearly. Perhaps, she said quietly, you may be of use to me after all. Elias blinked, uncertain. I am here to help foster peace between our peoples. I do not seek personal gain. And yet, Serenia said, you may gain more than you realize. Strength, trust, and knowledge. These are treasures even the greatest suitors rarely achieve. Meanwhile, the twins continued their competitions outside the queen's private chambers. Kayla organized a display of the Empire's fleet drills, showing Elias the skill and discipline of her officers. Lyra arranged a banquet of scholars, poets, and diplomats, hoping Elias would be impressed by her intellect and charm. But neither of them knew that while they fought for attention, the queen was quietly winning his respect. Every day, Elias met with Serenia to discuss governance, military strategy, and the future of the Empire. They debated, laughed, and exchanged ideas. He admired her ability to understand people and predict outcomes, something the twins could not match. One evening, as a twin banquet concluded in the Grand Hall, Elias returned to his quarters thoughtful. Kayla and Lyra had both tried to impress him today, but he felt no satisfaction from either attempt. Instead, he thought about his conversation with the queen. She had not asked him to praise her empire. She had asked for truth, for guidance. That honesty mattered far more than the show of power or charm. The next morning, Kayla found him in the gardens. Captain, she said, trying to hide her frustration. Did you see the fleet yesterday? Did it not impress you? It is impressive, Elias replied gently. But I value insight more than size. Strength without understanding is fragile. Kayla's face flushed, and she stormed away. She realized, with a bitter twist, that her display had failed. Lyra approached later, offering him rare texts and questions about diplomacy.
Captain, surely knowledge must interest you, she said softly. Elias accepted the books politely but spoke truthfully. Knowledge is valuable, Princess, but I am impressed most by wisdom and by the ability to listen and understand. Lyra
frowned, realizing that her efforts, like Kayla's, had not captured his attention. By now, Queen Serenia had begun to recognize the effect Elias had on the palace. Not only was he earning her trust, but he was also exposing weaknesses in her daughter's strategies without realizing it. He was calm, patient, and clever, qualities she had longed for in a human ally. The twins, meanwhile, were growing frustrated. They competed with each other daily, unaware that the queen herself had begun to quietly outmaneuver them. Serenia smiled to herself one evening. The human had not fallen for pride or beauty. He valued thought and honesty, and in doing so he had found a connection that neither princess had expected. The game was no longer just about the twins. It was about the queen, and Elias's choice. The Xylarian Empire had known peace for decades, but that peace was about to be shattered. Across the stars, a rival alien power, the Vorath Coalition, had gathered an armada. Rumors spread quickly through the royal court. The Vorath forces were vast, ruthless, and eager to conquer Xylarian worlds. Panic stirred among the nobles, who whispered that their empire might not survive the storm. Queen Serenia, however, remained composed. She had faced crises before, but this one was different. This time, the solution might not come from her usual advisors or her powerful fleet. It might come from the human, Captain Elias Ward, who had quietly proven his wisdom in discussions over strategy and governance. The queen summoned her daughters and Elias to the war council. Kyla entered first, her military mind already racing. She laid out troop positions, ship formations, and defensive plans. The Vorath are strong, she said, but our fleets are stronger. We need precision, discipline, and strict order. Any deviation could cost us dearly. Lyra followed, offering a different approach. Strength alone is not enough, she said. The Vorath may expect us to fight conventionally, but if we use clever diplomacy, misdirection, and alliances, we could weaken their plans before battle begins. Strategy is more than force, it is foresight. Both sisters argued fiercely, each believing her plan was superior. The room was tense, the air heavy with competing ideas. Elias listened silently, noting both strengths and flaws. When the twins finally paused, he spoke. "Princesses," he said carefully, "both of your plans are strong, but both rely on assumptions that the Vorath might not make. They will not act predictably. To win, we must be unpredictable as well. Discipline is valuable, yes, but flexibility can save lives." Kayla's brow furrowed. "Flexibility? Do you mean to suggest we ignore centuries of battle strategy?" "Not ignore," Elias replied calmly. "Adapt. Use the lessons of the past, but do not rely on them completely. A fleet that reacts too slowly is a fleet that loses. A mind that is rigid is a mind that fails." Lyra leaned forward. "And how would you suggest we adapt, human?" Elias outlined a plan that combined both sisters' approaches, but added human unpredictability. He suggested moving some fleets along unexpected routes, using decoy ships to draw the enemy into traps, and employing coordinated strikes at weak points the Vorath might not anticipate. He even proposed using Xylarian knowledge of nearby star systems to set ambushes in uncharted sectors. The council was silent. Nobles exchanged uneasy glances, unsure if a human's plan could truly succeed where Xylarian experience had failed. Kayla and Lyra looked at each other, their rivalry momentarily forgotten. Both realized they had underestimated him. Queen Serenia finally spoke, her voice calm and firm. "Captain Ward, your plan will be followed. Prepare to implement it. Princesses, I expect your full support. There is no room for competition or hesitation. The Empire's survival depends on unity." The next days were filled with urgent activity. Ships moved in strange patterns. Fleets were split and hidden, and communications ran non-stop. Kayla and Lyra, who had spent weeks trying to impress Elias, now found themselves working side by side under his guidance. He directed them with quiet authority, never commanding harshly but always making clear what was necessary. At first, both sisters resisted. Kayla's mind was trained to obey strict order-preferred negotiation and subtle influence. The Xylarian Empire had survived the first wave of the Vorath invasion. Thanks to Captain Elias Ward's strategies, their fleets had struck decisively, and the enemy had retreated in disarray. The court erupted with celebration, and the twin, princesses Kayla and Lyra, found themselves both relieved and frustrated. Both had spent weeks trying to capture Elias's attention, hoping he would favor one of them. Yet he had never shown preference. And now, after seeing him in battle, they realized something that made their hearts pound with unease. Elias's focus had always been elsewhere. Queen Serenia had been working quietly with him. She had spoken to him alone, discussed strategy, and made decisions based on his insight. The human had respected her wisdom and authority in ways that neither Kayla nor Lyra had expected. The twins were furious. Pride burned in their chests as they confronted each other in the palace gardens. He pays no attention to us," Kayla snapped, her fists clenched. "All our effort, all our plans are worthless." Lyra crossed her arms, her face tight with frustration. "It is worse than that. He listens to her. Mother. He treats her as an equal. He does not just respect her, he trusts her." Kayla's eyes widened. "Trust? She is our mother. Why would a human—" Before she could finish, the queen's voice called from the balcony above. "Enough, my daughters. Do not waste your energy in anger. There are more important matters than rivalry." Both princesses looked up, their irritation mixing with embarrassment. The queen descended the stairs gracefully, her robes flowing, her presence commanding yet gentle. Elias followed quietly behind, speaking with the council but occasionally glancing at the queen with respect. Captain Ward, Kayla began, her tone sharp. We thought you were impressed by one of us. Perhaps we misjudged your intentions. Elias turned and gave her a calm smile. Princess Kayla, Princess Lyra, I respect both of you. You are clever, strong, and capable, but my attention is not for competition or rivalry. It is for guidance, strategy, and understanding. And at this moment, my focus is where it can make the greatest difference. Lyra's eyes narrowed. And where is that? Elias's gaze shifted to the Queen. Serenia stood tall and serene, watching the exchange with quiet amusement. Here, he said simply, with her. She has wisdom and judgment that far exceed anything I have seen. She listens, learns, and adapts. That is why she commands my respect. The twins gasped. For weeks they had thought the human might choose them. But now they saw clearly that their mother had already won. Not through charm or power, but through quiet strength and intelligence. Kayla's voice shook as she spoke. So, we were nothing? You are not nothing, Elias said kindly. You are learning. And this lesson is more important than pride. Strength, courage, and wisdom are what I value. Those are qualities you must develop, not just display for attention. Lyra looked down, her pride wounded but her mind opening. So he respects you, Mother, she murmured. Serenia placed a gentle hand on her daughter's shoulders. Yes, and in doing so, he respects the Empire. Our work is not about competition or vanity. It is about survival, wisdom, and unity. Kayla swallowed, hard. Slowly she nodded. I understand, Mother. Lyra followed suit. I understand too. Elias smiled faintly. Do not think of this as a loss. You have learned something far more valuable than winning attention. You have learned the power of focus, patience, and humility. The court watched silently. The twins. Revelation was clear. The human had never been a prize to win. He was a partner, a mind that could change the fate of their empire. And in seeing who he truly respected, everyone realized that Queen Serenia's wisdom had outshone even the cleverest princesses. The Queen led Elias through the council chamber to the war maps. The Vorath threat had not ended. Reports indicated a second larger fleet was forming at the edge of Xylarian space. The first battle was won, but the war was far from over. Captain Ward, the Queen said, you have proven your worth. The Empire trusts your judgment. I wish to continue this work with you by my side. Elias nodded. Your Majesty, I will serve the Empire to the best of my ability. Together we can prepare for what comes next. Kayla and Lyra watched from the balcony. Their rivalry had faded, replaced by admiration for both their mother and the human who had chosen her. For the first time, they realized that the true strength of the Empire did not come from beauty, titles, or displays of power. It came from wisdom, courage, and partnership. The next days were filled with preparations. The Queen and Elias worked, side by side, coordinating fleets, fortifying defenses, and analyzing intelligence. The twins assisted, their rivalry replaced with determination to support their mother. Elias treated them as equals, teaching them human tactics and decision-making without favoritism. Through it all, the Queen saw how humans thought differently, how they combined creativity, logic, and adaptability. She recognized that this human, though not born of Xylarian blood, possessed qualities that few in her empire had seen before. He was not merely a guest, he was a teacher, an advisor, and a partner in shaping the future. One evening, after a long day of planning, Elias and the Queen stood on the palace terrace looking out at the stars. The twin moons of Xylar shone brightly, reflecting on the silver towers of the palace. You have changed much in this short time, the Queen said softly. Elias nodded. And I have learned much as well. Your daughters are strong, but your wisdom is what guides them, and the Empire will follow your lead. Serenia smiled. Then let us face the coming battle together, not as ruler and envoy, but as partners. who respect one another, and may our enemies learn that the Xylarian Empire is stronger than they imagined. Elias's eyes reflected the stars. They will, and humanity will be honored to stand with you. In the quiet of the palace, Kyla and Lyra finally understood. Their mother had not only captured the humans' respect, but also the hearts of the court and the loyalty of an entire empire. The game of rivalry was over. The humans' choice had revealed the truth. Strength, wisdom, and trust were the real prizes, and their mother had claimed them all. The Xylarian Empire was alive with a mixture of celebration and cautious preparation. The Vorath coalition had retreated, but intelligence reports suggested their forces were regrouping. Yet despite the lingering threat, there was a renewed sense of hope. The Empire had survived a trial that few could have imagined, and it had done so through the combined wisdom of Queen Serenia and Captain Elias Ward. The court had changed as well. The twin princesses, Kayla and Lyra, had spent weeks learning human strategy, listening carefully to their mother and following the guidance of Elias. Their rivalry, once bitter and relentless, had faded. They now worked together, eager to strengthen the empire, rather than to compete for attention. Queen Serenia observed her daughters quietly. They had grown, subtly but surely, in ways that pleased her. They had learned patience, cooperation, and the value of listening to those wiser than themselves. She knew that the Empire's survival depended not just on fleets and weapons, but on the wisdom of its leaders. And now, more than ever, the twins were becoming true leaders in their own right. Elias walked beside the Queen through the palace corridors, reviewing intelligence reports and fleet movements. Despite the chaos of war, he remained calm. His presence inspired confidence in the council, and even the most stubborn generals followed his suggestions with careful attention. "Captain Ward," Queen Serenia said, pausing to look at him, "you have changed the way this empire sees humans. They no longer see Earth as a distant, fragile world. They see us as equals in intelligence, courage, and strategy." Elias smiled faintly. "I did not do this alone, Your Majesty. The Empire had the strength all along. My role was only to help guide it, to offer a different perspective. The real credit belongs to you and to your daughters for adapting so quickly." The Queen nodded. She had expected much from the human, but his humility was as striking as his intelligence. He did not seek glory or titles, he sought only to serve and to make the right choices. That combination of courage, wisdom, and humility had earned her trust, and more importantly, had earned the trust of the Empire. The twin princesses entered the room, carrying reports on fleet readiness and intelligence from the front lines. They bowed to both the Queen and Elias, showing respect and gratitude for the guidance they had received. Kayla spoke first, her voice steady. "Mother, Captain Ward, the fleets are ready. The Vorath are regrouping, but our strategies have left them off balance. We are prepared for whatever comes next." Lyra nodded. "We have learned much from both of you. The Empire is stronger not just in ships and weapons, but in planning and unity. The people have faith again." Elias looked at them with pride. "You have both done well. Remember, leadership is more than tactics. It is about understanding people, predicting outcomes, and staying calm when others panic. That is what will carry the Empire forward." The twins exchanged a glance, a silent acknowledgement of how far they had come. What had once been a bitter rivalry was now a partnership built on trust and mutual respect. Weeks later, the Vorath returned, this time with a fleet twice as large. The Xylarian forces met them in the cold void of space. Kayla commanded part of the front lines, while Lyra managed intelligence and coordination from the central command. Elias guided the overall strategy alongside the Queen. The battle was in